People go, oh, you're hard done by now. We didn't win enough games, right? Fact. That's your job as a manager. Win enough games. The 8 games that remaining were arguably the best run of games on paper. So that was the only bit I couldn't get. I was like, well, that's the best run, and you're taking us out 2 days before the best run. Well, if you got a lap dance, you'd have to spin again, so it's your fine, to get the number of someone you do the lap dance. Genius. Genius. To be associated with that group and to get promoted was just off the scale.
Bournemouth, is there anything there? What's happening, everyone, and welcome to SPORTbible Stories. Today, alongside Stevo the Madman, we are on our debut episode. How you feeling, Steve?
Mate, don't call me Steve. That's the first thing, Ross. But bruv, I'm feeling great, man.
Yeah,
what an opportunity we got here to speak to some legends, icons.
And you're not joking. I mean, today, for the debut, it is the one, the only. It is Premier League icon Sean Dyche joining us.
So much better about myself with that welcome.
Sean, honestly,
big audience.
This is like, speaking purely for myself here. This is big for me. Like to meet you like this and to have the honour of working with you. I genuinely believe you are a Premier League icon. So 100%. To see you here today is huge. And thank you so much for coming on this debut episode.
No problem. You did describe it as we're working together. We're not.
No,
you're just going to ask me some questions.
But I can clip that bit now, you see. That's for the show reel. So that's in the bag now. There's nothing you can do about
Sorted
that.
Then. Yeah. Sorted.
Yeah, we're colleagues. Sean Dyche and I are colleagues.
We are working together.
There we go.
Of course.
So before we carry on, we've got some quick fire questions for you, if you're happy to
absolutely
to go for it. Stevo, do you want to get us underway?
Yeah. First question. What's your name?
Sean Mark Dyche.
See, I didn't know that. That is a bit of information we didn't know.
Where are you from?
Kettering, born in Kettering.
Occupation?
Was professional football manager recently, until cruelly sacked, obviously.
I agree with that, by the way. We'll get into that, but...
There's a bit of fun in that.
What club did you support growing up?
70s kid, so I supported Liverpool. My local club, Kettering, so Kettering Town. Yeah,
yes.
My dad used to go down and watch them. They were pretty big concern in the non-league scene then. But yeah, Liverpool from a distance.
And your favourite footballer when growing up?
Got to be King Kenny. Met him, and the most bizarre circumstances, because obviously I'm a man, he treats you like you're a man in football, and you're just in my brain, I'm just going, but you're King Kenny. And he's just chatting to me, all right, going all right, Burnley, and I'm still going, you're King Kenny in my head, going, and I just want to go, yeah, but you're King Kenny.
And is
that's
this
how
later
I feel
on?
Now with you. That's exactly what's going on.
No, not the
with
same,
me,
mate. I got to be honest. I'm me, but that's King Kenny.
Is this when you was
a whole different level?
Sean Dyche at Burnley, top manager in...
Yeah. I was at a game actually. I think I was in the Championship and he was at a Preston game. I can't remember why he was there. I was there. And he just walked down and tapped me on the shoulder and said, all right, Sean, that was the first time. And then when I went to Anfield, I met him a bit, properly sort of thing. And it's just that weird thing, they say don't meet your heroes. Trust me, King Kenny's a proper legend.
So did you have that moment when you met him? Were you sort of starstruck? No, did you have a photo?
Because you've been in football. When you're 16 and you go in as an apprentice, in my day, I went to Nottingham Forest and there's some big players and they were like top 5, league, then Division 1 club before the Prem, winning cups and that. So you've got some big figures there then, you know what I mean? Des Walker, Stuart Pearce, Nigel Clough, amongst many others. There's just 3 off the bat. And it sort of takes it away. You realise they're people. They're people. They're sports people. So it kind of takes that away. But deep down, because of your kid memory, it's like King Kenny, isn't it? You're 7 and you got his shirt on and you think it's King Kenny.
Yeah, that's the thing, though, isn't it? The hero that you have when you're youth, it's very difficult for that to not remain your hero. Like, for example, for me, Dennis Wise will always be a kid. Like if I were to ever meet Dennis Wise, I would be 12 again. I mean, I have, but I didn't maintain my composure.
You know what my
I didn't
one
get
is?
the photo. I didn't do anything.
Garage. I was proper into garage music. So
I just thought you meant garage.
Garage sounds.
Yeah.
No, but when I meet the MCs that I grew up listening to, I get...
What, so if you meet Creed or whatever, you're gone? Yeah.
Apart from King Kenny, it would be people in music.
Okay.
I've been very fortunate. I've got many contacts now in music and I love meeting them guys.
Can you sing or play the instruments?
Can I interject with a quick story? I know we're on quick fire, but it's a good story.
Go for it.
So the other night I was at Leeds Festival. Melvin Ben, who's the owner, brilliant, unbelievably unassuming, classy fella, has looked after me, interjected an email about 5 years ago. I just cold called it, said, could you sort me out with some tickets for my kids and all that? Because I get the granny out of at these festivals. So I said, just a little VIP area, have a drink with my kids and all that. Been amazingly generous ever since. Anyway, so I'm at Leeds Festival the other night, get wingside on the stage for the Arctic Monkeys. Oh. So I'm walking back off around the back of the stage and I see Alex. So I literally go, "Oh, Alex, great gig." I was on my own. I said, "Great gig." My kids are in the thingy, but my daughter, Alicia, and I said, "Great gig." So he did that weird thing. He sort of checked, he shook me hand and checked and then, walked off about 10 minutes. You know the thing when he went, I could see in his face,
he realised.
"What are you doing here?" Yeah, like type thing. So anyway, a day later, a fella called Johnny Owens, who did the film, I Believe in Miracles, and that about Forest and everything, he's become a good friend of mine. He sends me a message. So he knows the geezer on the first Arctic Monkeys album called something McClure. I don't know, Chris McClure, I think. The geezer with the fag on the picture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's on the first Arctic Monkeys album.
Yeah.
He was sitting with Alex after the gig, sends this text message. He goes, "By the way, tell your mate Sean, Alex said this." And he goes, "I was walking down off the stage and this guy was there and he said, I got to be honest, I thought, is he part of the team? He looked a bit like maybe like part of our group or not the singing group, the people who look after him. Yeah, security. Stage manager, or something like that, security or whatever." And then I realised it's Sean Dyche. And he said, "What a way to finish a festival when you're met by Sean Dyche."
Amazing.
And he said, I was buzzing. I was
also high praise. Like Alex Turner's genius, isn't it?
Oh, they're amazing. But first time I've seen them as well, that's why I specifically went, really.
Yeah.
I went on the Saturday and saw Dave and people like that who were really good. New to me, my daughter's into that, so it's really good. Really good. AJ Tracy, people like that, good. And Corking City I really like, so I saw them. And then Arctic Monkeys were excellent.
But
but just a weird moment.
Yeah, so that's an amazing moment.
Some doors open for you and these weird moments come along.
Because he's a hero as well.
Well, back to the point was of what you were saying. So I'd be more, that'd sort apart from King Kenny, of course, that'd be more to me meeting them people. And sometimes I get a drink with them and have a beer and chat about their lives.
And do you feel like, because the thing I find, I don't know if you find this, when you speak to other people, say in entertainment or in a professional space, it's all the same, it all aligns.
Yeah, I really like elite anything. So I've seen not just music, loads of elite events which I've been invited to, not always into what they are, but into what you're saying, into the background of it, the management, the alignment of the teams and all stuff like that. And it does cross over many times. Even especially in modern music now, they've got to be out there gigging because obviously the downfall of record sales. Yes. So they've got to be out there doing it, and therefore they've got to be on it. They've got to be stripped back but raw, but they've still got to be aligned. They've still got to be really producing. The days of, remember the stories in the 70s of bands going on steam and drugs or whatever. No, they're very cool. They're very fit. Yeah, they're elite. They're knocking out on point all the time. So it's changed. Anyway, sorry, long-winded.
I've got a quick file. So leading on from that, what is your favourite thing to do outside of football?
I do really like music. I'm not obsessed by music, but I love seeing gigs. But that's more of a social thing. Golf, I love playing golf. I've had to knock it because I had two back operations in the last 4 years, but I've recently started again. I've got time, believe it or not, at the minute. So yeah, I really love golf. I don't compete at it. I just like playing.
Are you any good?
Do some.
You seem like an honest guy.
When I was playing a lot before my back, decent, round about 10.
Okay.
But recently been really bad. I mean, really bad. So there's work in progress to get back to where I was, let's say. But.
So favourite footballer ever, Kenny Dalglish?
No, more for the fact that you're a kid. Right. Ever, you got to be up there with Maradona's. That was my era, seeing Maradona at his prime, you know what I mean? So that, it's hard to see beyond, them. Modern-wise, probably Ronaldo, just because he went to the other clubs. Messi's unbelievable, but just because Messi was at one club, well, until recently, and Ronaldo went to others and did it everywhere he goes.
What about managers when you were growing up? Was there a manager that stood out?
Well, yeah, again, the 70s, Bob Paisley and the era of the boot room manager, but then Sir Alex, really. And I've been very fortunate to get to know him a little bit, and he's always very generous to me, and at the stadium, he invites me into his room afterwards and all that. I mean, what he did with the club and what we've seen since he came out of that club in comparison is just crazy, unbelievable. For all them years at that club, that level, that pressure, that intensity, them signings, remoulding, rethinking, regenerating year on year.
I've heard about those moments with Ferguson. He'll often invite the opposing manager into his office for a drink after the game. Is that actually?
No, well, that used to happen a lot, but it's a different thing now. A lot of the foreign managers, it's not just part of their culture. It's not. They're not against it. Some grow into it. I mean, Pochettino did. Arsene Wenger did with us. Not always, but not with everyone apparently. But he did with us at Burnley. maybe we weren't exactly a threat to Arsenal. You know what I mean?
Would it just be you?
Would it
just be you? Like from the
opposition? It depends. Sometimes they come in your room, so your staff would be in there. I mean, your immediate staff, not like everyone, but. So it's a dying thing but not because there's any offence taken. It's just because it's a cultural difference. You know,
do you reciprocate? Do you do that?
Yeah. If they want to come in, the doors are open. Pre-pandemic and after pandemic, but you get them in. The door's always open. It's some do, some don't. It's no.
When that happens, what do you chat about?
It depends who's won.
Yeah.
Who's won. What are you gonna? Sometimes say some really odd things when you're like, really. Like they've beat you and they're actually sort of nailing you a little bit. You know what I mean?
I was going to say that. And do you consider is it banter? Obviously, if we played five-a-side or played Monopoly or something, and I've just beat you.
No, most are gracious. Some right? Mm-hmm. So if you know Steve Bruce, you're going to have a bit of fun with him. Brilliant fella, by the way. You're going to have a bit of fun. Not fun, but sometimes serious. But generally, it's a moment when you're fighting on the sidelines, but in the room afterwards, you're cool. Mm-hmm. And he's a top fella, by the way. Tops.
Who's Steve Bruce?
Oh, brilliant fella.
Do you think he was harshly treated? Because by the end at Newcastle...
football, there's no point in worrying about harshly treated. You're going to get harshly treated in football. Don't be a manager unless you think you're going to get harshly treated, because you are going to get harshly treated at some point. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Very few don't.
On that, in terms of your proudest moment in football, is there one sort of standout moment for you that you put above everything else?
Well, it's got to be as regards management, there's got to be the first promotion at Burnley, because it was no one thought it could happen, and it just grew as the season went on. A bit, although we did it automatically, a bit kind of like the Sheffield United story, a bit kind of like the Forest story. But it was a few years ago, and we just got that momentum going, players playing at the top of what they were doing, and to be associated with that group and to get promoted was just off the scale. Life changing for everyone.
Have you got someone in football that's like you obviously you say Ferguson's you've been talking to him over the years. Is there someone that you consider your most influential person in football? Yeah,
probably someone you wouldn't know much about, and unfortunately he's very, very ill at the moment. So I hope he finds his way. But John Duncan, who was at Chesterfield with us,
wow, yes,
yeah, very probably influenced me. I didn't know then because you're a bit younger. I was probably around 24, 25, 26, around that. I can't remember exactly. Before I moved to Bristol City, I had a couple of seasons with him. He stood by me from a contract point of view, which was the first person who had, I felt. Made sure I was looked after the best possible from a small club like Chesterfield. I delivered back for him and we got on great. And his assistant, who sadly passed away, Kevin Randall, who, like I say, we grew a relationship, still speak to him now, still used him to bounce opinions off of. Because he'd watch all our games and stuff. And he's a very honest guy. So he's not going to give you some load of bluff. He's just going to say exactly what he's seeing. Everything that he's seeing, he's going to tell you. So you need that. You
100%.
You can't be too precious in being management. You need people to give you an outside view, just literally as they see it, not that kind of, they did well here and they did well there. You ain't got time for that. Yeah. You need it. Just bang, there you go. That's what I think.
But then it depends on the type of person you're giving that information to. Can they go away, not take things to heart?
You learn it over years. I mean, it's very, as a player, you I think now more than ever, with the growth and the power of social media, it's probably more of a precious thing that we're looking for good news. But as a manager, you can't. You're going to get bad news. It's not. I'm not being negative. You just are. I'll give you a quick example. When we got promoted that first season, I was saying about amazing situation, amazing season, out of nowhere, got promoted to the Premier League. We were at the Player of the Year, and a fan came to me and said, Sean, it's been amazing this season, but I've got to ask you, why don't you leave anyone up at corners? And and you just think, you can't please everyone all the time. Right. You know what I mean? You're just never going to do it. Yeah. So therefore, you just have to accept. And that's when you're winning all the time. So when you're not winning, trust me, you're going to get some heat.
Was there ever a standout piece of advice that you sort of took to heart and have lived by since?
I don't know about standout advice, but a brilliant bit of management. We made the FA Cup semi-final for people who wouldn't know, but at Chesterfield, that was a massive thing against Middlesbrough.
Yeah, boy.
And I remember in the dressing room, again, these are things at the time, they're just funny moments, but when you look back, genius management. And I remember he got everyone in, and this is John Duncan, he gets everyone in and he says, hey, and he's deadly serious. I can't do all of his accent, but he's got a quirky accent. And he says, hey lads, he says, look at you. You look like you're all shitting yourselves. So I'm sitting there, we're all going like, and he went, I hope you fucking are, because I fucking am. And it just took the fire out of it. Everyone just relaxed. And he said, hey, let's take it on. And it was a moment of genius because everyone dead. Chesterfield in the FA Cup semi-final, it's enormous. We're at Old Trafford. I can't say, you know, people that can't stay, they've been sorting tickets out. We're known to do all that. We're doing everything. I was captain. I was running the players' pool, sorting tickets out. You get to the game and you're like, almost thinking, oh, we've got the game now. And he just diffused it all with just a very simple moment, a bit of humour. And I remember thinking, genius. I think that is genius.
Have you taken that on? Like, would that have stuck with you then?
In a way. I mean, look, times have changed. You know, there was a lot. It was a different era then. You know, players now, you've got to almost give them everything. If you don't give them everything, it's like, well, you didn't tell me this, and you didn't tell me that, you didn't tell me that. So the trust and the belief in letting you show what you can do and believe in what you can do and deliver what you can do. Now you've almost got to give players it's like, you know, sport would call it a no excuse mentality. The thing is with that, and I was talking recently about this, you have to be really careful because you want to give a no excuse mentality and a no excuse environment even better. But guess what? Then it becomes a crutch to lean on. Because then it's like, well, you didn't tell me this, and you didn't tell me that he could kick with his left foot, his right foot, and his arm and his leg and every part of his body. You know, and I'm going, yeah, but I shouldn't have to. You know, you're a professional footballer.
Take some responsibility.
Yeah. So that's changed, and that's where the delicate line now of modern management is giving definitely an environment for this no excuse situation, but making it clear to the players, right, we've given you that, now it's for your responsibility to take that on and deliver it. And I think that's a fine line now, and it's a really difficult line at times.
Yeah, our final quickfire question. Is there one thing?
The slowest quickfire question I've ever known, but probably my fault.
Sorry, no, I think it's like, look, we're learning on the job here. Remember, this is our debut as well.
Quickfire is a very loose term.
Good point.
Is there one thing that you couldn't live without? Have you got one treasured possession? Is there something that stands out?
It's like any, you know, if you've had kids, your kids. I mean, that's you know, that's just one of them things. It's like an unbinding combination of feelings that you can't put it into words. They're just there, and you just know that they are, and you need them there when you can see them. I need to know they're well and they're safe. That's probably more like it. Other than that, not really. I like material things, but I'm not into it. You know what I mean? I've got a nice car, but I'm not into it. It doesn't define me. You know, some people actually change. They get a car and it's like, it's a car. Still just a car. So I'm not really into that side of things. I've got some amazing nice things, but you get what I mean? I'm not really.
The car park of a Premier League football team is insane, isn't it? Like when you see the cars sort of lined up.
It can be. I mean, I think they go through different generations players. You know, it depends on your age group and your players, you know. Because some go through that stage and then they realise it is just a car and then they go back to just drive. You know, I don't know if you remember, there was a famous period. I know they were sponsored by them, but I think this is right. I think the Man U players were driving in an Audis or something because they all had Audis. So they all had fleets of cars, but they used to drive in and out of their Audis because it was almost like the Man U thing. You know, we just crack on. You know, that's not so easy now because you've got to also remember that as much as I like a pretty tight environment, they're still human beings. You know, if you put 50 grand in my pocket when I was 19, as if I wouldn't have a car, a proper car, of course you would. So you've got to just be realist and go, well, look, you know, just get young. It doesn't make them all, you know, an egg because they drive a big fancy car. Well, some equally don't believe in it. They just can. You know, so they drive a big car, but they don't actually believe in it. They're still working. They're still playing. They're still... It's just that fine line. I mean, we're only using a car as an example. You can imagine all the other trinkets that come along. That fine line of... Do they believe the car makes them better or different? Sometimes you got to educate that and go, whoa, it's just a car.
I think more nowadays with influencers, social media, you can get proper caught. Like you could get caught back in the day, but now I just feel like with the
it's the finances that come with being a footballer young now. Like obviously when you were playing, you earned and you built your way up, and then hopefully at some point in your career.
No, you're right. I mean, that is the conundrum of modern football life, as in financially, because players are getting rewarded without doing anything. But that's just the nature of it because they're buying the potential to do something. So
do you feel like, I don't know if we're even here yet, but I'm going to go with it, but the likes of these young players, like this, I don't want to name names, to be honest. I don't like that.
Name names. What they want. Give them what they want. Name names. I'm not really about that.
For instance, I'll name one. Recent, Ross Barkley. Like, how good was he? Now, there's two ways I look at this. I do remember him getting through some serious injuries and whatnot, so I know he does have strong mentality, right? But then, do you get too much too soon?
Josh McEachran at Chelsea definitely got too much.
Josh McEachran's got a little brother as well, man. Like it's too much too soon because some can go on with like Odegaard. He went to Real Madrid, 16, just kept sticking at it, and now he's like 22, 23. and he's going to have a long career. But some
his
he got it too early.
His character. I'm not saying anything about names, but his character. Different characters respond to different things that come their way.
Do you think
some just have a natural instinct to want to win all the time? You know what? Is a food for thought thing. Some footballers are just good at it.
Yeah,
man.
But people think they should love every minute of it. They've actually grown up going, I don't actually love every minute of it. I'm just really good at it.
Do you know my eyes open to that? Benoit Assou-Ekotto. Do you remember Benoit Assou-Ekotto? He played for Tottenham.
Yeah.
I remember reading an interview from him and it completely blew my mind.
He
didn't like football.
Yeah.
He just happened to excel at it. He happened to have the natural innate ability to be good.
I haven't necessarily come across people who don't like it. But there's a difference between being obsessed, loving it and everything that fans think. And some just happen to be really good at it. And they got to an age where they go, I'm so good at this. Why wouldn't I carry on?
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean it dominates their lives. The modern football is very rare they are football dominant.
Yeah.
They've got so much going on in their lives, you know what I mean?
You parted ways with Burnley in April. Have you been following the football? Are you watching it? Are you obsessed? Or what have you been doing?
Well, I'm distantly, but not. It's time for me to have a break. I didn't need the break, just to be clear. I didn't come out needing a break. You know, someone said I was tired, and I wasn't. I was more than happy to crack on. But just to clear that up, by the way, in case you're going to ask later, but I'll clear it up now. Don't forget that people go, "Oh, you're hard done by now." We didn't win enough games, right? Fact. That's your job as a manager. Win enough games. So I would never hide behind that. There's other reasons. I'm not going to go into millions of different reasons about whys and wherefores, but the facts are the facts. We had a team that could have won more games and we didn't win enough games.
I think you're being self-deprecating.
I think he is as well, mate.
Self-deprecating there because you haven't lost enough yet either. You
don't know me. If that was my mates, they'd go, yeah, that's what I'd think.
I get it as well. I do get that.
I understand. I think that you're obviously you are onto something. You didn't win enough games. I think that's honest and applicable to this situation. But I also think you hadn't lost enough. You hadn't lost enough games. You weren't down.
Well, the argument would be, and I said this on parting, was that the 8 games that remaining were arguably the best run of games on paper, because the Premier League's very difficult, by the way. But on paper, the best run of games of the season.
Yeah.
So that was the only bit I couldn't get. I was like, well, that's the best run, and you're taking us out 2 days before the best run.
Yeah.
So that bit, I couldn't get that. But they're under pressure to make decisions, the owners. Not an easy decision. If you look at it the other way, big decision, big brave decision for someone who'd been there as long as I had.
Yeah. What about the blanket that you had created in the sense of 7 years? Was it seven seasons keeping Burnley in the Premier League?
Yeah, we had six up, but we had 7 out of 8 in the Premier League. Yeah, because we went up, down, and back up.
Yes. Surely that should give you some.
Yeah, but like I say, with all that being considered, you've still got to win enough games, and we hadn't. And I felt the team, although we weren't a brilliant team, but we had enough in our locker to have won more games than we did and not be in the situation we did. It was still going to be tight. I mean, I told the new owners when they first came in, I said, the next couple of years are going to be really tight because we've got to regenerate the squad, because there hadn't been the investment put in 3 years ago because they were trying to sell the club, therefore they kept the money in the club, blah, blah, blah. So we were always going to be playing catch-up. But facts are facts. We still had the players capable of winning more games than we did.
I feel there was a period where people would look at Burnley and be like, Burnley, tough ground to go to, all of that, and they work hard. Then there was a change where it's like, hang on.
At no point last year when you were manager did I say they'd go down. Even when the winless streak was going on, at no point, and I was always saying, they'll be up, Dyche. That's what I was always saying, even up until the point.
Yeah, I'm not here to lie to you. I believed we would have stayed up. But you never know.
Do you feel there was a change, though, when people were saying, like, right, Burnley, they're actually a good team. They're a good team. Like, we have to. And then did the players?
Do you know what that comes with? And it comes from managers as well, and possibly certain media streams. So you get in there and it's exciting and it's new, right? So you're Burnley and everyone goes, well, they've done amazing. Let's see what happens. So you get that for a couple of seasons. You stand, oh wow, it's all amazing. Then you go through say you're at year 3, and then it's like, oh, they're just doing this, that, and the other. Then you go through, oh my goodness, they do this and they're hard and then you go, and then people go, fair play to them, they're in the Premier League again. So you almost, it's like the sort of the reverse bell curve. You start high and people sort of do you down a bit, and then they have to, no choice. And other managers are almost like, you're here again. So you start going back up the way.
Do you feel the players recognise that?
The whole
like, and then they take their foot off the gas
whole
a bit.
Inverted band cut.
Do you feel they took the foot off the gas, the players? Or
I'm not going to go into that. I'm not going to go into that. We had some brilliant pros who were amazing, and they'd achieved massive for themselves, for the team, for me, for the club. Massively. So I'm never going to question all.
And what about what's next? Are you looking forward to getting back into management?
Yeah, I'm not pushing or anything. I get linked, but let's face it, I'm out there. I've just come out of a job. relatively successful in the sense of years of service to a club and keeping them up. So I'm probably going to be linked, not with all jobs, but I'm probably going to be linked. So that's just part of the course.
I was in a black cab this morning and
Excuse me.
In the paper there's a mention, a gentle homage to you regarding the Bournemouth job.
Yeah, but like I say, you're going to get linked with it. I was linked when I was in a job.
Yeah.
So when you're out of a job, if you think about it, you've got, in theory, no sales picture. You've got no compensation. You've got a good record. You know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Handsome, debonair, play free-flowing football. What's not to like?
Yeah.
No, you know what I mean. You're going to be linked because when you're in a job, don't forget, no, joking apart, but the business side of it does kick in. Clubs are looking and they might be going, and then they look at your contract, compensation. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they aggro to get through that. Yeah. Other clubs sometimes just go, there it is. But others, it's a negotiation. It all gets a bit weird and a bit odd, as we've seen many times through football. Whereas when you're not,
would it appeal Bournemouth? Is there anything there?
There's nothing that I wouldn't look at because I think I've been around. My career was through every division. I didn't play in the Premier League, but loads of cup games against Premier League clubs. I played in all the other divisions. I managed in the Championship, the Premier League as well. I'd never disrespect any club. I mean, to give you a view of that, when I come out of Watford, there was people like Crawley phoned me straight away because Steve Cobble was involved there. Phoned me straight away and I said, look, Steve, I just want to afford myself a window. Yeah. But I was respectful of that. Just cool, I had a really good chat with him, spoke through it all. You know what I mean? I've been around the game since I was 16. So I found that, be careful if you're going to start. I mean, I'll give you a quick one. I see these young managers and they're on TV or whatever. And they go, I'm looking for the right project and the right people. Who's not?
Yeah. It goes without saying.
I can never get out. I can never get me in. I'm going, get a job first.
Yeah.
Not easy to get a job.
Yeah. What about abroad? Would you ever consider doing something like that? Like, I love the idea of you
there's popular misconception about that sort of stuff. There's loads of myths, you know what I mean? I don't like foreign players. It's all rubbish. Of course I'd like foreign players. Why wouldn't you? They're just players. You want players who are good and make you better.
Yeah.
We just didn't have the resources at Burnley or the mindset from the old board, more so from the new board, to do that. Just as an example. Same with going abroad. Why wouldn't you? You got your family reasons. The point is, if you take away your life and just went, would you manage abroad? Oh, yeah, why wouldn't you? Yeah. Why would you not be open-minded to that? It's just football, right? It's football.
Has that ever happened? Any conversations ever with
There's been conversations in the past, but, more sounding out. You've got to remember, in the industry that it is, you might have an agent, but that doesn't stop other agents phoning you, messaging you. I've got some funny ones for you. So recently I keep getting WhatsApps from European agents who are saying, would you be interested in this player? And I go, I have to put, you do realise I'm not in a job anymore.
Oh, God.
Because they just, we call it trawling.
On a mailing list, aren't you?
Well, we call it trawling. So they'll just throw it out there and hope to get a bite. You know what I mean? They'll just trawl and hope that somewhere or another might be you get another job or... They don't even know.
Parted ways.
No, exactly.
Do you know what?
You might speak to another manager though and say, you know what?
I'm not a world figure, but you'd like to think if you're an agent, you'd know that I wasn't working in the Premier League currently, surely.
When you're not working, so when that conversation happens, like this is an insight, I kind of dedicated my life to football in as much as I talk about it every day, I play it as often as possible, and yet I know nothing about the game. But from your point of view, when I read the club and the manager have parted ways, what does that mean? Like, do you go in? Is there a sit-down meeting?
It depends. It depends the legalities. So sometimes the terminology will be decided on the legalities of a contract.
Right.
Mine was a pretty simple affair. Alan Pace, decent fella, by the way, just came in one morning, said, could I meet you? By the way. You can smell it.
You know?
Yeah, I've been in the game all my life. You know what I mean?
How do you know? What's a little telltale?
Odd meeting time.
Yeah.
I'll see me at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's odd. So game of golf the day before, equally odd.
Yeah.
So these are just the little signs. You know what I mean? Feeling around your group, around the training ground, because often these rumours and murmurings start. But it's a simple affair. Just sat down, talked me through it. I gave my opinion very, very quickly. Nothing. Said no problem. Just look after the people that you want to remove. You'll have no problem from me.
All right. And what about the opposite of that then? When you're... they call it being tapped up? Is that how it works? How does that go?
No. Sometimes it's just straightforward as well. They've gone to the club. They've asked permission. They know your contract. The club know the contract and all that sort of stuff.
I'm going to look after Sean.
It can get
You're not making dry snitch on himself, saying he's been tapped up and that.
No.
Watch out,
yeah.
No, it's fine. You ask me a question, I'll give you an answer, and if I don't want to give you an answer, I won't answer it.
Fair.
It's simple. It's simple.
I do find that fascinating because in my head, it's like really glamorous. Like, are you not being wooed wooed at the Ivy? Are you not being sort of taken for a swing?
I certainly haven't been. I mean, maybe that goes on, but certainly not me. Maybe they didn't think I was that kind of guy, but deep down I am a bit of a foodie. So
We've got another exclusive.
There we go. Yeah,
we're talking about like managers when they say, "Oh, I want to go into a good project and that," and they know what they want from a club they're going to go to. But what's deal breakers? Like, what makes you like, I'm not going to that club?
Well, when you're in the game a long time, like I've been, you can keep your finger on what's going on behind the scenes at clubs. So you sometimes hear about ownerships, about situations with clashes of chief execs, directors of football, or whatever it may be. So you might be going, "Oh, I'm not sure about that," whilst being open-minded enough to go, "Well, could I manage that?" Because you're a manager, don't forget. So the idea is you're in the light. Yeah, exactly. That is the point. If you look at it logically, you're there to align that situation.
Yeah.
So therefore, if that's your job and that's what you're tasked with, then that's what you got to do. I mean, my belief in management, to give you a feel of it, and I've always made this clear to the owners at Burnley, well, Watford, Burnley, and the new owners at Burnley, just tell me what I've got to manage. What's hard for a manager is when you get told you've got to manage this, and then a month later, this comes along. You go, "Oh, hang on a minute."
Yeah.
So now the goalposts keep changing and different figures keep changing. And you're going, right, okay, so where was the structure we all agreed on? Usually the best scenario in my experience is, tell me what you want me to manage. And I'll manage it to the best of my ability.
What do you prefer to manage? Like,
so for example,
players,
no money, right? Money's a big one. Okay. Sorry, money's a big one. So just tell me that we haven't got any money.
Okay.
And I'll manage the best I can with no money. Or tell me we have got some money. The greyness is really hard for managers.
And do you generally get that transparency, or do you find that it's often
I did at Burnley with the structure and the belief, and I did it actually at Watford with Graham Taylor, rest his soul, brilliant fella. His alignment, he's very, because he'd been a legend, manager, and he understood it, so it's quite clear. But the old board at Burnley was very clear, because I worked with them for time, and obviously over time you build a more clarity. Yeah. They were never clear with money, though. They always had none, even though we had bundles. Always none. You work from zero and maybe get a bit. So that was always a challenge. So in my experience of that, new ownership changed that feeling a little bit, And I don't think there is the exact perfect model, other than, in my opinion, just be honest, tell me what I've got to manage.
Yeah.
And then I'll manage.
What about taking your own team? Like, is Ian Woan a prerequisite? In those conversations, do you say my own team?
No, I mean, well, another kind of, I'm not going to say a myth, but I'll give you an idea of it. So when I first went into Watford as manager, you go for people like Woan in, and people think you're bringing in your mate. Now, he is my mate, but he's a completely different character to me. Massively different character. So my idea was to build a team around me that were different, because if you're not got difference, you don't get the right feedback.
Balance,
You need someone who's going to look at things differently, someone who's a different character, someone who's going to feel it differently. So I had him, Tony Loughlin. Tony Loughlin is very organised, writes down sessions, keeps a map of everything that he does. So that was his skill set to keep us, I could say to Tone, you want to freshen up, we could do that. And he'd pull out a file with 8 years ago, a training session on a Tuesday morning from 8 years ago, and go, right, Gaff, we did this, blah, blah, blah. And you go, brilliant. Woney was different to that. I'm obviously different to that. More straight up, full on black and white thinking. I think I'm good at structure and strategy and all that sort of stuff. Steve Stone came in, working with the 20s, then stepped up. Different again, different kind of character, vibrant, Geordie, a bit full on, bit of banter with the lads, bit of full on sort of feeling. All these characters make a team. So in answer to your question, would there be a new team? Possibly, but would I at least have a chance with that team of people? Yeah, because 100%. I know how they work, they know how I work, they know the expectation of what you want.
Yeah.
So you're already off and running. Whereas when you work with new people, which sometimes has to happen, you get a new team around you, you've got to work each other out. At least I know them guys.
Yeah. How does it work on the training ground? Would you be on the training ground, or would you leave that to a different
I was always out there, but in the early days, I was hands-on a lot, because I wanted to lay down, this is my expectation of everything we do. And then over time, your staff get more and more involved. You learn to delegate better, and you trust to delegate better. And then you can let things go a bit further, and you'll let the coaches take training. You'd always oversee it. Some days I'd summarise it. Some days I wouldn't. Some days I'd just be on the peripheral. Some days I'd be heavily involved. And some of it comes from feel. You look at the group and you learn how to monitor the group. You get to a point with, we're all humans, we all interact. Within 5 seconds, you say good morning to someone, and you know what mood they're in, you know what state they're in, you know what I mean? Just by their quick body language, their quick answer back. So, things like that.
If you found that someone...
fun players, by the way.
If you found that someone was in... They've come in, they might have had an argument with their missus or whatever it may be, and they've come in a bit of a weird mood, and it might affect their training, will you give them a bit of leeway thinking, okay, like...
Sometimes it's your staff's job to pick up on that, and it depends. Your staff sometimes feed it back to you, go, look, I've heard that so-and-so, a few problems there, so I'd pull them, is everything all right? Do you need anything? Try and be supportive. Been through some amazingly challenging things off the pitch, and that is a thing that maybe sometimes things like it give you a chance to explain. Footballers, of course, they're seen as a product, and that's it. But they have lives. They have lives, and people go, "Oh yeah, but they got money. Money doesn't solve. Money can bring trouble. It doesn't solve everything." You know what I mean? Yeah. So they forget that sometimes. You're seeing these players running around on a football pitch. You don't know what's happened the night before, the day before. I do. And sometimes you've got to put them out there knowing they're carrying a lot off the pitch. But, of course, then your professional side kicks in. And that's what people forget. I say this to when I was dealing with the young players, apprentices at Watford, I say, always remember this. On your passport, it doesn't say footballer, it says professional footballer. Yeah. That's what you've got to learn to be, the professional bit. Because everyone wants to be a footballer. Everyone wants to go and run around and play and have fun and earn loads of money. Everyone wants to do that, be successful, etc. What about the professional bit? What about doing all that it takes, including when the hardships are hitting you in your private life? Can you still go and work? Yeah, that's your job.
Well, you know what Biggie said, don't you? When it comes to money.
More money, more problems.
There you go, Roz. Just checking. Let's check in. I want to know who I'm working with, Sean.
Is he dropping lyrics now?
I want to start saying, like, what do you enjoy the most? What I'm saying, because I know that, I think I know that when it comes to the mind, you're very big on that, I think, right? Do you enjoy getting a player and working? You can get a player and you can work on his technical side of things, right? You can get his touch better, you can get his movement, or you can build him as a human.
I've always thought if you affect the person, you'll affect their performance. Yeah. So I always try and build an alignment of rapport, of trust, belief in each other, two-way, not just me dominating them, go, look, this is what I think, it'll be good for you, good for the team, what are your thoughts? And then we find the negotiables and the non-negotiables. So there's a fine line between them, but it's important. I wasn't against being involved with the group. I'd be around the group. I was quite happy with that, a bit of fun. They knew I was the manager. They knew where the line was. And if that got crossed, then I'd make sure that it didn't get crossed. Yeah. But I was quite open with that sort of, that feeling, if you like, amongst the group. Yeah. But I wanted them to know that I'm with you and I'll protect you and I'll help you. And all you have to do is meet me 50-50. If you meet me halfway, I'll give you my all. If you don't, then we're going to have a word.
It's tough to get that balance, mate. I ended up getting a restaurant, right? And being the owner, but I don't consider myself as a boss. I don't like it. I really hate it. And I'm in with the workers and I'm getting the tequila out and I'm giving shots out and all of this. And then when it comes to putting your foot down, how do you put your foot down when yesterday you're doing tequila shots with them and all of that? You know what I mean? So the balance for me, I couldn't do it in the end. I've got rid of the restaurant. I'm not boss-like. I just don't have it in me, I'll be honest with you.
I don't know how it did, but if you're shooting tequilas with the staff before you even put the food out there, I'm not saying. I don't imagine that's like the key to success.
I was awful. It weren't successful, I'll be honest with you.
No, but joking apart, I mean, you're right. I mean, I don't go that far. If we did take the lads out, I'd have a drink with them, pop in, see them for an hour and then get out of the way. You just do a bit of respect. There's that fine line between leaving them. You know what I mean? But you learn that as you go. I played all my life. I've been in football all my life. You get a feeling for your group and you know the trust as well, the trust lines, when you can trust them, when you can't, the different characters. You learn all that about people.
Yeah. When you've got a massive match on, you're playing away at the Emirates on Sunday. How does that week shape up for you? Will you go and watch it? Say Arsenal got a game midweek. Will you go and watch that game?
Sometimes depends on from Burnley, obviously you're travelling all the time, so it's difficult, to get to where you need to go to. But if they're in the location or somewhere where you can get to, don't forget you have away analytics now, And I mean, to give you another myth, it always makes us laugh in football, not just me, loads of people in football. So this new manager goes into whatever club and it's like, oh yeah, they're really analytical. They got this, they got that, they got this, and they got that. Everyone's doing that.
Right.
We all just laugh. We go, oh, yeah, that's amazing, that breakthrough. Because we're going that in a breakthrough. We've all been doing that for 10 years, you know what I mean? Everyone's doing all that stuff. So, in answer to your question, sometimes we have an away scout. We usually did 3 reports on the opposition, home and away. So you're getting a mixed view of how they operate home and away. Sometimes more reports. You build a backlog of reports, of course. They change your styles, change your manager. So you've got that to reflect upon. Yeah. You can get eyes on them if you can, or your assistant or your coach gets eyes on them as well. But that's not just big games. You got to remember when you're Burnley in the Premier League, every game's a big game. Yeah, every game's a massive game.
Yeah.
And you don't treat any like we never did a throwaway. Like we got mashed by Man City year after year, but we didn't throw it away. We weren't like going, oh well. We weren't doing that. We were still providing the players with, look, we know it's difficult, but there's the truth of it. This is what they do. This is what we feel we might be able to do to affect it, etc., etc. We didn't go in going, oh well.
What about prioritising fixtures? Would you ever do that?
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about that. I mean, winning the winnables and stuff like that, which does have some merit. But I always think you got to be careful, because then you might take away the fact that, well, what about when you do beat Liverpool away?
Yeah.
And they haven't lost in 68 games like we did.
Yeah.
So you might take that away, because it's almost like, oh well, this one doesn't count.
Yeah.
Man City's, we beat them, we drew them away, not so
Chelsea.
often. Man U, Chelsea. Yeah, so I always thought you've got to be a little bit careful with that. I do understand it and understand the process. And statistically, by the way, it does work. You know, we statistically were beating teams in the bottom half of the table more than we were beating the top half. So there is a stat that backs it. I just think it's a mindset thing. I always think, well, you know, in my opinion, why do you sort of almost, not promote, but almost offer the opinion that, oh, well, it sort of doesn't matter because these matter.
Yeah.
So I was always like, every game matters, you know, and that's the mindset I wanted. Every game you can win, find a way. That was always my mindset.
How big is mindset? Obviously, I know it's big, but how big is it, like in this modern game where I just feel, and I'm old. I feel like I'm old in my industry with the influencer life. They're all really, really young, and when I talk, I sound old when I say back in the day they cared more, and I feel like that's all that's lacking from this beautiful game that we've got now, where it's technically amazing. I just think we're missing a bit of the care.
Yeah, but society's changed. It's not about you can't rewind life. You know, like society's changing. You know, care and attention, detail, respect is changing.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, so you're not going to rewind it all. You just try and offer I only offered the reasons for. I said to the players, these are the reasons. I'll tell you what we should be doing. But you have to take ownership of it. You have to take ownership of how much you care. Do you care 1%? Do you care 99%? You know, that's for you to decide. So, but society is changing. You know, managers have had to change. You know, it's sort of a thing that makes me laugh. He's an old school manager. Trust me, there is no old school managers, because you can't be an old school. Yeah, it's impossible to be an old school manager. You can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So it's nonsense when they say that. You have to bend and flex with what's going on, or get people around you who can. Harry did it brilliantly at Tottenham. With Les and Tim, they sort of went round a younger guy. You know, they went round doing that bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know whether Harry did that particularly, but that's what it seemed to me. He was coming to an age where he probably thought, right, I need some young cats around here who are kind of just finishing. They know the script. They can blend with the players. They know what the players need. Whilst he did the
and those players stuff as well. A lot of that team would have looked up. You know, Tim Sherwood obviously won the league, and Les Ferdinand was an elite level striker. They would have been heroes to some of those players coming through, which is helpful.
So I don't know whether he did it for that reason, but I imagine there was probably a bit of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, when you touched on it there, playing Man City, and it wasn't always going your way.
It was rarely
going your way. I was doing my best.
We were cheering when we got a corner.
Did you? Yes. Did you prioritise in that build up? Would you worry about your own team? Would you focus on your own team, or would you say, right, we've got to stop De Bruyne. Let's focus on De Bruyne. Let's work out.
No, I'm always wary of that. You know, tactically, when they got about man marking someone, you're a man down. Don't forget.
Yeah, 100.
But hopefully they are as well. Is that the logic? Hopefully they are as well.
But you can't read their mind. So they'll be in advance of you. So you might De Bruyne, he's still in advance of your man marker.
Yeah.
Because he can see it quicker than your man marker can see it.
Just following
so you're now a man down. So you're now 10v11, in theory. Yeah.
So is that not a tactic you'd employ? You don't rate that one?
Not me personally, but obviously you've got to remember that it's not often talking about yardages. So would we say, if he gets near the ball, you go lock on, sharp style? Of course. But the idea of literally wandering around the football pitch like that, it's very difficult.
I've only seen that a few times in my life, and I remember Park Ji-sung following Messi around for a game.
That was because he wanted his shirt, eh?
Yeah. We actually got that shirt on the back wall there. Don't know if you
Is that the shirt?
It's tiny, isn't it?
It's not the real one.
It's tiny.
Hodgie and the Maradona.
Yes.
It's worth a mention. So we used to go around Hodgie's house before we went out for a night out and that, and he used to get the shirt out and show us it.
Is it?
Tiny little, it's just sold for like 7 minutes. And it's like this big, tiny little thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you have stuff like that?
Have you got anything in the treasured items?
Yeah, I tend to give them away. I do some stuff for charity and stuff, so I tend to give them away and collect stuff for charity. I've still got my FA Cup's final shirt. the one I played in, because you get replicas. The one I actually played in, and some team shirts. I've given stuff. My Millwall ones I gave to Neil Harris in his testimonial and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm not that precious about memorabilia, to be honest. I don't have anything at all in my house at all about my career. Nothing.
How comes?
Because I always want the family to live their lives. I don't want their lives to be about my life. My children and my missus now, it's their life.
Is there an office in your house? Do you have a sort of managerial spot?
I've got an office, but nothing in it.
Really?
No, nothing in it that you'd know about anything to do with my career.
Gosh.
With that, Sean, that sort of philosophy, does that seep into your management style, would you say?
Philosophy is a word that gets bandied around. It's not philosophy. It's just my part of being me. I just think, why would I put myself and my career on my family's life? Try and take that away and go, no, you be yourself. You live your life. Don't be like, and my lad's a footballer, so why would he don't want to be seeing about me all the time. He sees enough of that, particularly in the Premier League. So I never got involved with his life, and I want him to do it for him. You know what I mean? I haven't been screaming from the sidelines and all that. Here's one for you. You wouldn't scream at your kid when they learn how to play the piano, would you? It's funny that. And yet parents scream like that at kids playing football. Never really got that. Trust me, I never did that. Not once.
Did your boy tap you up for advice?
Yeah, but only feedback casually. I'd offer him some stuff, but not intense. I certainly wouldn't be getting his videos and breaking it all down and all that, unless he asked me to.
Should say for context, Sean, so your son's currently at Northampton?
He is. My son is at Northampton Town, yeah.
7.5 as well?
Yeah, I mean, he's just played the other night in the cup and they got beat 6-0. So no, it's fine because because
so you learn to be fair.
That's part of being a professional footballer.
Yeah.
So I said that comes with it.
How did he feel after that? How did he?
Yeah, exactly. So I talked him through that, made sense of it. Didn't think he actually did too badly as an individual, but you put it in a team that got smashed, and no one cares whether you did quite well.
Sean the dad or Sean the manager?
No, both.
Talking to him. Yeah,
both. A bit of empathy and support from being a dad, and a bit of okay. Well, look, he knows I'm in the game, so therefore I'll give you my opinion. And he shares it because he's learned to do that, and he'll just go, Dad, I thought this and I thought that. And sometimes he'll bite back like you do when you're a kid, and then sometimes he'll reflect and the next day go, I see what you mean, It was always interesting, to give you another little life view, when you're going for the feedback thing, at the academies. Imagine me walking in.
Yeah.
They must have been going, no.
Yeah, that must have been such a weird moment.
And then they start telling you about football and your own son, and I'm going, really?
No, but you've had that.
But you have to swallow it, do you? You're like, even out of politeness.
There's no swallowing it. No, I just do it because I believe in don't undermine the teacher.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You sit there and
that bit is old school. I wouldn't be at the school undermining the teacher. That's not my bit.
No, absolutely.
I'd be going, no, they're teachers for a reason. Listen and learn.
Yeah.
So I'd be saying to the coach, it's their feedback. Listen and learn. Yeah. So they were cool. I never ever got involved with the coaches and went, whoa, hang on a minute. This is not my bag.
Would that be typical with your players? Do you think that your players would generally... Do you ever get pushback from players?
Yeah. So it depends on your character. So I'll give you an example. You're in a group room. Feedback in my day was almost cringe. You'd be embarrassed. You don't do that anymore.
Right.
The languaging is important. The tone that you use. I've got a negative tone in my voice, so I have to be really positive because people just hear a negative. I learned that many years ago. Even though I'm quite a positive, I think I'm quite a positive guy. And I try
super self-aware that is.
You've got to know that your tone, my tone is like, ooh, and it's hard. People find it harsh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So therefore you need more positives to take away that. So when you get feeding back to people, it's like what you thought. You show them, in my day, they'd show you something and go, what are you doing that for? And immediately you're on the back foot.
Yeah.
So if you're the wrong character, you fight. Whereas if I said, what are your thoughts? Different words. Same outcome, just go, what are your thoughts? And you go, right, so your brain works differently. You go, oh yeah, I was thinking that. There you go. Well, I was thinking that. Okay, fine. Well, what about if you thought that and you thought that and you thought that? And then it just changes.
Is that specific to the player though? Do you feel like some players you go, mate, what are you playing at? Or and other players you'd have to be...
Well, some players can take the group environment, not many.
Yeah.
Not many want to be that weird thing when you feel a bit embarrassed or a bit on you.
Is this new though?
Therefore, no, we've learned. The players were the same. It's us, the coaches or the managers have learned. The players are still the players. Are still out there.
For real.
The players are still players. It's you as the coach and the manager that got to learn to diffuse you, not them.
Yeah.
The easiest thing in the world is to go in and give them what it is. You do there. Everyone can do that. But guess what? You feel better for about 3 minutes. And then you go in your office and you go, that ain't going to work, is it? Because now they feel awful. Make them feel better. Not me. My job is to swallow the grenade, like on the cartoons,
Yeah, jump on it.
Yeah, and let them breathe and learn and play.
And then what about when things, when there needs to be the element of discipline? I've read about a fine wheel that you had in the Burnley dressing room.
Yeah, that come from rugby. Sports scientist Mark Howard, great guy, great operator with us at Burnley. this idea of rugby to take away the diffuse, silly, like lack of professional things, kit lying around, kit on the training ground, just little things. Shoddy timekeeping, not the big stuff. I mean, the big stuff would come to me, but little stuff. So we bought in a fine wheel, and on the fine wheel, some would be money, some would be payback of money, and some would be things like, you pay, you get a fine. One of them would be spin again for someone's car to be validated. So you spin again, whatever number it comes out with your number, he now has to pay for your car to be validated.
Nice.
One that was a good one. One went down, they have to buy dinner for you, either you and a mate, you and your partner, whichever, wife, whatever it may be, family. Of course, someone tops it, don't they? So someone hits the big one, bottle of shampoo and all that. Before you know they're screwed because the bill's coming in like 400. They're like,
love it. So then what happens? Then the receipt's presented to that person. That person has to pay.
They have to pay it. And all stuff like that. No, that's just an example. We had to sit in there's a river by the training ground. We'd have to sit in the river for a minute. Lap dance, hilarious. So amazing lap dance. Well, if you got a lap dance, you'd have to spin again, so it's your fine, to get the number of someone you do the lap dance on.
Wow.
Genius.
Oh, no.
Genius. Cringe.
Yeah, exactly.
Hideous, but genius.
And it's not negotiable. These happen. If you have to be fine.
They're negotiable until the point when you got to do it. What you can do, right? The whole group are sitting there going, no, you got to do it.
Wow.
So, and it starts with a process. No buy-in. So we go, right, lads, it's an idea. What are your thoughts? And at first, you get resistors and all that. And then once they get involved with it, they're like buzzing. And somebody properly like dying. Someone sing in front of the crowd. You're surprised. You just see a grown man crushed.
Yeah, man.
I was singing in front of his mates, by the way.
Yes.
Crushed. So, and some would be fine. Some would be 50 quid. And never mad stuff, not like huge stuff. And some would be, you win 2 free spins. You spin for someone else to spin.
It's incredible.
Right.
So you put some fun stuff in there,
Yeah.
so you could actually win from it. And there was one that was straight 350, and it used to come round, and the lads would be going,
No, I don't want that one.
well, it'd be 350 for leaving a cup on a table.
Oh, is it?
Oh, yeah. No, we were big on it. Yeah. Well, just a bit of respect.
Discipline.
Yes. You're in the canteen.
Yes.
Why can't you just lift your plate, right,
man.
and put it on a trolley? Come on. You're a human, right? You can lift the plate. Imagine being at home with your mum. Yeah. She's going to cane me if I ain't taking that plate out. So they're just simple life things. They're not going to make you win a game, but they might just give you a little bit more of a core to work from. You know what I mean?
You know what's mad? Certainly, you got to think as well, like, different people have been raised different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So this is like, you're in my house.
Yeah,
like
so you're giving them an alignment of simplicity.
Yeah.
These are small things, by the way. So mathematically, the big stuff, if someone's an hour late for training or whatever, that comes to me. And they get a proper fine or whatever it may be. Worry about all the little stuff that just keep it tight and show a bit of respect. Why throw your kit all over the floor? I'm sure you can just leave it on your place. You know what I mean? Just little things.
But it's probably quite popular, isn't it? These kind of things, like they're good for team
I
bonding.
don't know. They tell me some environments just won't do that. They expect everything to literally be done. Literally everything to be done. Some managers are happy with that. That's fine. I'm not here to judge. We just created an environment that we thought would suit what we were trying to achieve. That's all we did.
And would you do the same again?
Just played into. I don't know, because you got to know the group.
Right.
Imagine some people see that, right? So we can laugh about it, and you'd buy into it, right? That's just you're the character,
love it.
right? But but that doesn't mean everyone does it?
This is it,
They're like,
mate.
whoa, I'm doing that. What, you think we're going to win against Man City because I do a lap dance on someone? Yeah. Trust me, that ain't their
Some of my brethren wouldn't want the lap dance. I want to do it, boy. I'll be honest.
Exactly. So the point is, we were trying to build connectivity by stripping back that. So when you're in front of your group, you can do anything, right?
Yeah.
And we're together.
Yeah.
Singing in front of the after little small-sided games, we used to have get in the middle of the group and we'd all clap and you had to dance.
Yeah.
So people crushed.
That'd be me.
Yeah.
But the idea was, if you strip off their ego, and they realise you'd laughing with them, not against them. But getting some people to buy into that is not easy, because they're like, we're so resistant. They're like, whoa, why you embarrass me? We're not. We're trying to take away the embarrassment in front of our collective group. We're a hardcore group. We can do what we need to do in front of each other. Make no mistake.
And at Burnley, did everybody buy into it?
Yeah, I mean, we started early, and once you get the early adopters, they spread the word. So players start signing knowing that this is coming.
Yeah.
So they almost go, all right, that's the way it goes. You got to remember, this is building an environment. It's not about the wheel. The wheel's not going to win you a game. I'm well aware of that. It's about creating the environment for the team to operate freely together.
Yes, absolutely.
Just so to explain.
I remember when the person who was on the fines, the fine man, like, if you've come in, if you've come in late, and he's seen you maybe, you'd be like, don't say nothing, don't say. And obviously, it's his job to say it, to keep us disciplined. And then you'd be like, Oh, you're so busy.
Right, no, so a bit of pressure in there.
Yeah, man, trust me.
So if no one comes up with a fine, then you spin the wheel and someone gets fined.
Oh, what, just for the sake of...
Yeah, because you go, right, well, because I know that they're doing that. Don't say anything.
Yeah.
And once you unwrap it, they're like, well, he did that. So one spin, you get about 20 spins.
Start singing.
And the other thing, to give you a reference point of this, so I've always held my hands up. We nicked this idea out of rugby. Loads of people have nicked it off us and put it out there as our own. We see interviews, managers going, yeah, you've got this spin wheel. And they've all taken it as their own. We think it's genius.
Yeah.
I always, if I've nicked stuff, I'll hold my hands up and go, no, we got that idea from them and we just made our own version of it. Oh, people have nicked it off us for fun and taken it to other clubs and then sold it in the press. Yeah, we do this.
I like
that he admits that, because some people, again, especially in the content creating industry, like they steal your ideas. Mind you, I saw that. I'm inspired by that or whatever.
Mind you, show me a good manager, I'll show you a good thief. Most managers have nicked. I'll hold my hands up. I've nicked loads of ideas. I've made them.
But it's borrowing, isn't it? It's
you know
being inspired by. It's being inspired by.
And then you'd mould it to your. Like some of it is authentic to you. Of course, I've got a few sayings and things I do. Of course, but there are other things you think, I like that. And sometimes from weird and wonderful things. It doesn't have to be from football, from business, from like I say, music and people I've met. You see a bit of gold and you think, that'll do.
Imitation and flattery and all that.
Oh,
mate,
nice.
Some of the greatest entertainers, I won't name the name of this one because he's cancelled, but he used to go into the streets.
I don't think we need to know now.
No, you do.
Always the best starts of a
He used to
story.
go into the streets of New York or wherever it may be. He'd watch the street dancers, go back, add it into his thing, and then we'd think he's created the greatest thing since sliced bread. But yeah, a lot of them do go onto the streets, go and listen to street performers and whatnot, and you get inspiration, man, from going to that level.
When you sign players, would you bring into your decision-making process their character? Like, would you think, are you going to be up for the wheel of fortune?
But you get that. It's another thing, the media they used to say things like, Sean, could just say, it seems like you always sign good characters. And I used to go, who doesn't want to sign good characters? So show me a manager who doesn't want to sign good characters.
Everyone wants to, but would you make it part of, would you meet the player and make it part of the decision?
It has to be, at least you have to find out what you can.
Yeah.
It's not easy. And the reason why often we didn't go into the European market heavy was because the board of directors made it clear to me, can we get good people? Can we survive in the Premier League? Can we then sell them on? Yeah. Well, so you need to know more and more and more about them to try and keep your mistakes minimal.
Yes.
When you start going into Europe, it's very difficult to find out all the background. You got to remember, my coaching staff have known players since, I know they're education managers and that, because my background, I went into, Watford as a youth coach. And so I know education people, so you can check them out. Properly check them out. So you're edging your bets that they're probably going to still be that type of person. Yeah. But then you've gone about good characters, and the one I always used because it got heavily put about was Joey Barton. They said to me, you're signing Joey, signing great characters. And I said, well, Joey Barton. Yeah. Now, he is a great character, but they don't know that. They
assume he wasn't,
right. Yeah, they assumed he wasn't. Yeah. He was fantastic with us. On the pitch and off the pitch.
You know what's mad? I was watching Everton. It might have been when they played it. Whenever I watched them recently, right? And I remember saying to myself, you know what? I think they're gonna do all right in the sense of because they're obviously at the moment it's early doors, but relegation battle. But it's not. It's early doors, right? But I remember saying to myself, they've got Tarkowski, Dwight McNeil, and they've come from a Sean Dyche team, so they're definitely first things first. Going to be putting it in, which is going to help.
I think so, but,
but you never know.
So,
yeah. Sean, press conferences. It seems to me, watching you in press conferences, that you enjoy them. You like to have a bit of fun in there. Is that true?
Well, it grows. You do that many that at first you're doing all the right messages, saying all the right things, and you get a bit longer in the tooth and longer in your career, and you think, hang on a minute, everyone's saying the right things. They're all saying, the latest thing, another thing that we laugh at in the game is, people come out with terminologies now. So it's like, you sound pseudo-intellect by coming out with certain football terminologies, and we just laugh, we just go, but seriously, you have to a little bit. Because if not, you sound like a dullard, So sort of the press love that stuff. So you have to a little bit, enough, I always say to young managers, I say, look, put enough out there. They're like, oh yeah, he's got something to say. But not so much where they're going, another one's, recreating football. Football's been going 140 years, but everyone is making out they're redesigning it, you know what I mean? So yeah, with my version of the press over a number of years, I just tried to be me, just tried to have a bit of fun. I like a bit of fun. I like a bit of dry humour. I don't think there's anything wrong. You know, that scary word that you're not allowed to use anymore, banter. There's nothing wrong with throwing that around and having a bit of rapport, you know, with reporters. So I just always thought, well, be yourself, be authentic. And if the time comes when I can break a moment just by having a bit of fun, why not?
But I wasn't. It's so refreshing.
I wasn't doing it
so
deliberately. You know,
like
people sort of think it's like that comedian thing when they go, "Go on, make us laugh." You know, as if you know you go to them, they're looking at you. What do you mean, make us laugh? Yeah, it's just a natural moment. That's my point. It's just naturally like today. We're just naturally chatting, and you just something will flick in your brain, and you just go, "Oh, can dive on that." So.
Can I? Before we get into, I see there's a few like real fun things, but one thing I did want to ask you about, and that was the correlation between the internet, social media, and footballers' form. Like, I want to talk about that, man.
Yeah, no, it's tough. I mean, you know, another popular misconception, whichever way you put it, Sean Dyche and like the social media, absolute nonsense. I've got nothing against it. I've just never seen its place with players because I think it brings undue pressure. Yeah,
you would
I get
on
it.
there, by the
I get
way.
it from a branding. I get that some of these players are huge. You know, I get the branding side of it, but I don't know about talking about the game and talking about your performances. And I just think, why do you,
would you get
it's
on?
hard to explain.
Your Instagram
How do you govern this, right? So just think of this logically. Just bear with me. Someone on an app or whatever they call it, Instagram, right, is feeding back to you, knows nothing about you, nothing about the game, possibly nothing about what you've gone through, nothing about what you've done to get to where you got to and what you do. But they're powerful enough to affect you as a human, and yet the coach who's seen you develop knows everything about you somehow doesn't. That is a weird thing about psychology, about modern life psychology. More likes and all that means more than the people who actually know in the room, professional people who can feed back to you, help you, support you, guide you, sort of means more for people who don't know anything about you to give you a like than it does the people in the room. I'm still flummoxed by that. Just on a logical
Would you try and counsel your players to not be on?
No, I'd just offer them the reasons.
Right.
So we had a rule that no football talk. But I shared with them why. I said, because it's just going to bring, you know, people talk about referees, it's just going to bring trouble. Why? You know what I mean? So I just go, that's the reason why. That's just that. And we'd have a bit of fun with it. There were certain lines we'd put it to the group for the spin wheel. We'd go, oh, what about this? And we'd put something up they'd put on social media, go, and the lads go, oh, and then we'd put it to a vote. Go, is that, you know, some would be borderline on mentioning about football. So, but it was actually a safeguarding. It was to say, lads, just take that away because guess what? It's another less thing to worry about.
Yeah, man.
When you're a footballer now, footballers, they're travelling to a game, right? This is my way of thinking because I'm like this. People who know me for a long time, I am like this. Strip it back, get focused. So why add to it? I'm on the way to a game, right? Why do I need to be on the phone answering, I don't know, whatever it is? Why do I need tickets and da-da-da? I'm like, just strip all that back so that when I sit there in my place, I'm ready. I'm zoned in, I'm ready. Now, that might be old-fashioned, but that just seems to me like logic. If I'm a performer of any kind, be ready.
It's protection,
tick all the boxes. Make sure I've eaten, make sure I've eaten right. Make sure I've rested well. Make sure I'm hydrated. Make sure them things. Not worry about whether someone on social media said that I'm going to play well or not today. You know what I mean?
But
or
you know
whatever
what as well?
it might be. I'm being flippant, but you know what I mean.
I get it, but it's like, it works both ways. When you're performing well, and then you're reading all of the comments when it's well.
Superpower, yeah.
But then it's like, well, you know what's going to happen because it's life. You're going to have a bit of bad form, then that's when it's going to be a madness for
Well,
you.
you got to find a reality line, eh?
Yeah, man.
And when you find your own reality line, you can probably deal with all that stuff.
Yeah, boy.
You know, because some of them are amazing. They deal with all kinds of noise, but they've just got a skill in their mind that they can deal with that. Not many can.
But you disconnect.
You see the way that you see the way that you would handle the press when you would do that, and the way that you would manage the media and have a bit of fun with them. Were you doing that because you found it fun, or were you doing that to protect the players in the way that we're saying protect the players from social media?
Just me being me. I just thought, you know.
Right.
The only things I wouldn't go into, and this is more of a respect thing, I didn't talk about other people's players. I didn't talk about women signing players or not signing players. Didn't talk about other managers. Very rarely do I question other managers.
Yeah.
Even when they've come for me, loads come for me, and I'll just leave it because I've got enough respect for my old school beliefs of being brought up by my mum and dad. Just show a bit of respect.
Absolutely.
So therefore, that's why I do it. Got that inner voice in my head of my mum going, "Oh,
Don't do that.
don't get involved
Don't
with
do
that."
that,
Yeah. So just call your jets. You know what I mean?
There's a little rule I live by. I call it the 7 Ps.
Oh, is that right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, what? You heard of that?
Got him relay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Can you tell us the 7
Perfect
Ps?
plan and preparation prevent piss poor performance.
Yeah,
There we go.
There you go.
There we go.
You need to try that tonight.
On a totally different subject, Sean, you've been to the Grand Canyon. You weren't particularly impressed.
Well, as the story goes from my mate Ian Warren and my assistant manager, he got interviewed about our life and all that. And he told this story about the Grand Canyon. To give you a quick version of it, the end product, he made out that I wasn't impressed by it and all that. But he said it tongue-in-cheek. They wrote it, and then it all gets thrown back at me. The truth is, we were naive. We were traveling around America. We were staying in Vegas. We had a car. We decided to go to the Grand Canyon thinking it's, we'd do it in a couple of hours. Jump in the car. We're cracking on at 90, 85, 90, an hour, miles an hour, whatever it was. So we were on this massively long straight road, dual carriageway going into the desert. Must have been, I think we took a photo of it. I think we clocked it at 18 miles, just a straight road. So this cop car goes the other way, does like in Dukes of Hazzard in my day, spins down the bit in between, dust everywhere, and comes flying up behind us. We go, wonder where he's going. Pulls us over, does us for speeding. Now we've got to get to the Grand Canyon at 55 kilometres an hour, 65 in certain bits, 55. And we were like, and then you see a sign. I remember seeing it. It was like 263 kilometres to the Grand Canyon. Wow. I just said to Oni, I went, oh no. So that's preposterous. That is preposterous. And we burst out laughing. So we cracked on. So we get there. And we have literally about an hour or so to look through the Grand Canyon. So we're just like looking through it, and I was amazed. I loved it. He knows I loved it really, but he sold the story that I didn't and all that, and so he made a story. But that's the truth. We got back in the car, and now we have to go back at 50 and 65 k's an hour because if we get done again, he gets put inside because he could drive. I couldn't drive. I wasn't old enough for for the insurance. For the insurance, he was 24. 24, whatever it was. So he would have got done and put inside for the night. So now we have to go all the way back, dead on the speed limit. It took us
ages.
It's got taken us 5.5, 6 hours. We get back there midnight now. We left first thing, midnight, have a fat burger, zonk out in bed, like absolutely. We're meant to go for a night out. We were like, the travel.
So what have you done? 12 hours travel for 1 hour?
Takes it out of you,
It was something like that, yeah. I was certainly about 11, 10 and a half, 11 hours.
Well, it's like the average speed limit. When you get on an average speed limit, you're like, mate, that's me done now.
Another quick one, we were on a tour in a car. We went around for sort of 4 or 5 weeks, and we went through Yosemite Park. Right, brilliant. So not naive again. For one, Woney, I'll do him back here. For one, Woney in a bar, she said, where are you guys off to? And he went, the Yosemites. And she went, man, I haven't heard of that. Maybe Yosemite? I was buzzing. I was crying with laughter. Woney, the Yosemites. I'm the Yosemites. Buzzing. So anyway, and he's a bright lad, to be fair to him, so I mustn't do him down too much. So we go off, setting off through the desert, blah, 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 blah. Come to Yosemite Park. I swear to you, we've gone off like this, right? Shorts, T-shirt, flip-flops. We don't realise it was shut the night before because of snow. Oh, wow. And this is like in June, I swear. So we get up there, we've got pictures from back in the day, the old-fashioned camera, not like an iPhone, of like 6-foot snowdrifts, and we're in flip-flops, flip-flops and T-shirt. It was bizarre. It was the most bizarre thing.
That is amazing.
It's only for a stretch as you go high up.
There's another little quick story, a myth that you might want to bust, but Danny Dyer, he broke one of your team talks up. Like he interrupted one of your team talks.
No, so who's become a friend, Serge Bizorno's with Kasabian.
Yes.
So I became a friend, or I became a friend of his, by the way, not. And he invited me to the evening do of his wedding. So Danny Dyer was there, and he had a couple of shandies, I think, possibly, as had I. And they had like it's like a taxi with a camera in the back, so you better get in the back of it. Booth, sorry. Get in the, not that other taxi, get in the back of it. And the film's allegedly. So the camera's on you. So he was going, Dyche, give us a team talk. With Serge, obviously, give us a team talk and all that. So I did. I gave a team talk properly down the barrel of the camera.
That's amazing.
Okay,
so
is that about? Is that out there?
It's not a real team talk.
No,
he's interrupting.
No, Serge has got it. It's his, isn't it? It's not like
and it's his wedding, bro.
Nothing mad. It was a proper real
proper team talk.
Yeah. And they were wetting themselves laughing.
Amazing.
Oh, incredible.
How does that go? A proper Sean?
Oh yeah, all right. Yeah. The comedian. I'll be funny now.
Yeah.
That'd be really funny now because that's going to feel like we're in the moment, isn't it?
There we go. Yeah, that could be something on the wheel.
Yeah,
you ever
exactly.
lose a will, we could do that. Sean, I think that's us done. I must say thank you so much for coming on. This is our debut as well. And you've starred in our first ever SPORTbible Stories.
Well, I hope it builds from here and we're only a start point, or I'm only a start point.
Thank you so much.
If you had to go to the Grand Canyon again and one of us had to be your wingman, which one would you take?
Neither.
You have to pick one of us. This is huge for us.
I ain't doing it.
What, you'd rather not go? So you could go to the Grand Canyon.
I'd have more banter.
I love it. He's talking about you, not me.
I think he gave me the eyes to suggest it was me there, Steve.
Yeah, exactly. I felt it.
That's what I was the final against Barcelona in Wembley. I should have changed at half-time and put Jesus Park and Messi. That was a mistake. If I had played Jesus Park against Messi, I think we'd have beaten him. I really do.